Senator Harding.
We're live.
Good afternoon. This is a meeting of the Joint Committee on Judicial Retention.
The ones I write.
I'm State Senator Dick McCormick. I'm the chair. Going around the room, we have with us Vice Chair Chip Triano. Senator Ruth Hardy has said that she'll be late. She chairs another committee. Senator Brian Collmore, Senator Martine Gulick, Representative Angela Arsenault, Representative William Knott, and Representative Thomas Oliver. And we have a staff, Peggy Delaney, and here, yes, okay, we are meeting now we've taken testimony, we've read resumes and questionnaires. And we are now here to discuss, and I guess today we'll vote. Well, we're going to vote on whether or not to retain a fairly long list of Supreme Court justices and Superior Court judges. And I think if we get it, some of these people, it strikes me that there was no real apparent controversy. We should probably make pretty quick work of the question. If any kind of controversy comes up, I think, first of all, we should wait for Senator Hardy as a courtesy. She's not late out of negligence. She chairs another committee and has trouble getting here. And also out of this is many things. Judges have a great deal of power as public servants, and we as legislators also are entitled to less privacy than citizens. Nevertheless, this is a personnel matter, and if there's some question out of respect, we should probably have discussions privately, and we'll go into executive session if I hear no objection.
Noted.
Nope.
Okay, good. Well then, let's start with Justice Paul Reiber. What are the comments from the committee?
I move we vote to retain.
Okay. Do I need a second on that? Yes.
Second.
We have a second. Okay. Is there any discussion? Yes.
I really like Justice Reiber. I thought he was really casual, on point, and really just a genuinely nice man. I think he's in a position where he deserves, and so I would support him in his retention.
Comments? No, I think there are many qualities we're looking for in a judge, but certainly just giving a pleasant impression of a nice person is certainly one of them.
Yep.
Since I don't want to vote to retain somebody based solely on that, so let me say I think he also showed knowledge of the law and a judicial temperament. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Does the chair vote if there's no tie?
I think the chair always votes.
Okay, chair votes yes. And we'll next take up Harold Eaton. We'll take comment. Yes. This is your job. No one else has a comment. No, something ought to be said.
Okay. So I've spent time in the courtroom with Justice Eaton, and I found that he was in charge of his courtroom with great respect from people who were standing in front of him, and vice versa. He showed great respect for the litigants and the attorneys that were in front of him. I found him to be fair, honest, and a good judicial mind. Cover all the bases.
Yep. I think Justice Eaton was impressive. Are there other comments? Yes.
I'll just share a couple of notes that I had. I will support Justice Eaton's retention. But I noted that one of the comments that made mention in a very kind way, while always courteous and respectful, he appears to be a little old school in regard to female attorneys. I noted that he was somewhat uninterested in what that comment might mean. And then subsequently in our discussion here, I remember he recalled his words, quote, "good question." And he assigned that to a male senator when actually it had been asked by a female senator. And these are the things that I notice and that a lot of women might notice because it happens a lot in our lives. So I just wanted to mention it. Always something for everyone to be aware of. Just putting that out there.
Are you asking that he not be retained?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I started with saying I will support his retention, but just in bringing up a couple of, one issue, something to be aware of.
No.
Martine, did you have?
I did not.
Pardon me,
I did have no comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
I want to make a comment just about the negative comments that some of the candidates got, which is I wouldn't want to ever be blowing off negative comments. They're important. And I think it's good that we confronted the candidates and that they commented on those. I do, though, want to also note that pretty much all these people got overwhelmingly positive. So if you vote in favor of someone who has some negative comments, it doesn't mean we're ignoring those comments or failing to respect them.
Right.
Okay. So are there, is there a motion?
Senator McCormick?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to add to your response, Senator McCormick. So if I count up correctly, there were 35 responses and there were only 2 who felt the need to indicate they wouldn't recommend him to be retained. So again, overwhelming.
Although I don't presume that those 2 made it up. They saw something.
Yeah.
And we did address it.
As a follow-up to both of those questions and comments, when we see these comments in these surveys, et cetera, do we know what kind of interface these folks had with the justices? In other words, was this a one-time event or was this a pattern of behavior that they saw over time? Because if it really was just they met this person once, I mean, to me, that, not that that's not relevant, but it does change, it really changes maybe the veracity or the importance, because no human being is perfect. I don't want to diminish the testimony and the comments, but it would be helpful if we knew what kind of interaction they had.
I commented at our first gathering that it's ironic in my view that judges don't get due process here. They don't get to confront their accuser. They don't get to cross-examine. They don't get, they do get to mount a defense, but they're not entirely sure what they're defending themselves against.
But is the answer to that question that actually it could be just a potential one-time meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be.
Okay.
But on the other hand, this is not a trial.
Right.
This is a job interview. And people can take a job interview and not get the gig because bad choice of a necktie.
No, I get that. It would just be, for me personally, it'd be really nice to know the amount of interaction they had.
Well, who actually puts those files together? Do you? Yeah.
The only thing I was going to add, Eric Fitzpatrick would like to say to council, that there is one question in the survey that indicates, it's not specific, but there's a range of how many times have you interacted.
That's what I was looking for.
I think it's like, I can't remember, maybe 1 to 15, 15 to 30, 30 and above. So it's pretty broad, but they maybe provide at least a little bit of guidance.
Judge Eaton, it was 71.43% of the people surveyed appeared before him 1 to 3 times. It's pretty high. 4 to 10 times was 20%, and more than 20 times was 5.71%.
Okay.
So you do have that information.
Yeah.
But, okay, gotcha. Yep.
Can I add to that?
Yeah,
Because there's the two separate groups also,
Right.
Right, those are attorneys that I was talking
Right,
about. Yeah.
so with Justice Eaton, I think, for instance, the comment that I pulled out came from the court staff. And out of 5 respondents, 4 indicated that they had interacted with the justice 100 times in the past 3 years.
Okay, good. So court staff, we can assume has had multiple
Yes.
connections to the judges. Okay, to the justices. Great, thank you.
is there a motion?
I will move that we retain Justice Harold E. Eaton.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but the motion should be to recommend retention.
Oh, that's right, we don't.
We're taking, we don't change that motion. I would recommend that we retain Justice Harold E. Eaton.
I'll second the amended motion.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I'm thinking in my own personal memory that actually that was the wording on the Reiber motion as well.
I think it was.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it was.
Thank you.
We'll take up Karen Carroll. Comments? No. Everyone happy?
Make a motion to recommend to retain.
Okay.
Second.
I wish you talked a little slower, which is not nothing, because, you know, people in the court need to understand what the judge is saying. I wish it was a little less than, and of course, maybe that was because she was on the spot in front of a bunch of people judging women. Any further discussion? Is there a motion?
I made it.
And I second it.
Okay. No further, there being apparently no further discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we're on to William Cohen. Yes.
So this is one that I do have personal experience with. A number of years ago, probably 15 or 20 years ago, I was on a jury, and Judge Cohen at the time selected me as the foreman of the jury. So we had interaction, and I thought he handled himself extremely well in court. He listens intently to anyone that's testifying, and just does a great job. So
I've already done the full disclosure that my rock and roll band.
Oh, that's right.
For his social circle. And I remember he was, but as a judge, there were some people who were angry with him, though, weren't they?
he did.
Well,
No, he did mention that, now that you mention it.
Again, outliers.
Let's see, judicial.
Well,
I may be remembering.
none of the attorneys felt he shouldn't be retained, but it may have been court.
I'm not working from notes. I may be remembering it correctly.
No, I think you're right. If it's what I'm remembering, kind of like a lack of engagement with the process. He appeared, I don't want to say the wrong word, but bored or somewhat. I think that's what was said.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's in the comments, just the 2
Right.
comments. I had highlighted the lack of engagement with the job and appears to be checked out from his work.
And again, how many?
That's out of 3 comments. The other is an honest, calm, sincere, and well-rounded person with integrity.
Yeah.
And out of all the responses, only one person indicated they didn't feel that he should be retained, out of both groups.
Just wanted to do due diligence here.
Okay.
Regarding Justice William D. Cullen, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second?
Just make a motion.
And there being no further discussion, all those in favor? Oh,
Just gonna is it too late? I just wanted to, something I really appreciated that he was advocating for, to put that again on the record, was services for jurors post-trial and helping jurors out with some of the stuff they may have encountered during the trial. Thought that indicated an important level of compassion and
Empathy.
As a matter of fact, I'll add to that, Representative Arsenault. When I was in that position as the foreman, and we made a decision, he asked the jury to stay because we were sequestered. And he came in and he really did a very good job explaining why this was so important for us to go through this process. And I think he made everybody feel really, really good about that. And then served us some food and it was great.
I have a family member who served on a jury on a pretty troubling criminal case, and it was a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
sorry to interrupt the voting.
No,
That was a good point.
we haven't started yet.
It's true, okay.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of recommending the retention of Justice William D. Cullen, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. And we'll turn now to Nancy Waples, Justice Nancy Waples. Have you done with the Supreme Court? Yes.
So I'll note that this is my third year on this committee, and given the change in the seat she holds, she was actually my first repeat visitor in my time on this committee. And she was impressive and quite frankly inspirational when we looked at her retention to her previous position. And certainly nothing has changed in this time. I think that she's an exemplary justice, and I have no reservations about her retention.
Were there any negatives on her?
Yeah, there were a few
Yeah.
poor ratings and bias, integrity, performance, 92.8% retention,
98.2,
92.8.
92.8. That's an A. Again, I don't want us to ignore or downplay the negatives, but putting them in context, that what you're getting is overwhelmingly positive and just a few outliers. Yeah, I thought she was engaging and seemed to know what she was talking about. We're a bunch, well, no, you're an attorney, but mostly we're lay people.
Yeah.
Judging judges. That's an odd position. They're scholars and we're not. But she struck me as pretty competent. Is there any further discussion?
Make a motion to recommend retention.
Second?
Okay. Hearing no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
And now that we're done with the Supreme Court, but before we go any further, it occurs to me, we've got, for those who are absent, does the committee object, and is it legal for me to let them vote after?
I think that it is.
It's appropriate?
Yes, I think you can hold the vote open and then double check with whoever someone besides Senator Hardy or?
Just Senator Hardy.
Okay, right, yeah, and double check, and then note the vote.
Yeah.
Make sure it passed along to Peggy.
Okay. So we'll take up Judge Allison Arms. Yes.
I remember with Judge Arms just being very struck by her commitment to the well-being of young children. And the time that she put into developing a structure to support them was laudable. And yeah, I just want to give her some praise for that. Seems like it was a heavy lift.
Remind me, what issues did we have to discuss with her?
Remember any?
3 poor ratings in judicial temperament, 3 poor ratings in judicial management, and harsh with female attorneys.
How many said that?
Just one.
Just one.
3, which apparently would guess the same 3. Retention is 97%.
So despite the criticism, they said,
Yeah, comments were mixed is what I have in my notes.
yeah.
I found that striking too. There were 48 people that answered between the two groups, the court staff and the attorneys. Only 1 did not favor retention. So even though there were a lot of negative comments, it apparently didn't rise to the level where they didn't.
Right.
So,
Yeah, again, what I say is I'm looking for patterns.
yeah.
I'm looking for, I don't find a pattern there.
Yeah, and I wanted to offer that I think she has a lot more work to offer, a lot more with her, as you were saying, Senator Gulick, her commitment to the creation of the family treatment docket. She spoke so passionately about that, and I think we all know, and she certainly, Judge Arms knows, and others besides those of us here in the room know how important that work is, and I would love to see maybe what else she would like to bring to the court system. Not that she's obligated, but it's great to see that kind of passion and care in that position.
Yeah.
I see her virtually every day I work at my other job, and she is amazingly level and right down the line. Just very fair, predictable, and I think well respected.
Certainly her interview was solid. You know, they say level, solid,
Same way on the bench.
yeah, in command. It's good. Is there a motion?
I would make a motion to recommend retention.
I'll second it. Thanks for sharing the load of the motions.
Is there further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? And now Judge Thomas Carlson. Yes.
I can start off by saying I very vividly recall that I want to honor and value his willingness to be vulnerable. There was a moment while he was speaking with us that he actually choked up and became emotional thinking about his mom, and that was preceded by a conversation about some of the comments that were made that he may be biased against women. And he's an example. You know, we saw a range of reactions to the negative comments that people received, and he is someone who I would say reacted in a way that indicated self-reflection, the ability to be reflective and to take something in, consider it, and not dismiss it out of hand. And I appreciate that. I think that would be an very important trait for a judge and a human being. But so I appreciated that.
Agreed. And even some possible sadness that he had been perceived in that way, you know? Yeah.
94% on retention.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to move to
Recommend.
recommend to retain Judge Carlson.
Second.
Seconded. Okay. Any further discussion? Well, we're just zipping right through this. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None aye. Okay. Judge Cortland Corsons. Yes.
Thank you, Senator. Yeah, again, I had a opportunity, probably the last 2 cycles, maybe 3 cycles, where the judicial branch holds court day in various counties, and you can go to either docket that you want. And I always choose to at least see Judge Corsons. And I think I said when he was before us that I've seen firsthand the manner in which he manages the courtroom and have witnessed a gentle, thoughtful, and fair examination of the circumstances of each particular case, and he treats people with the utmost of respect. And I have only the highest regard for him, so.
Committee, any more? Is there a motion?
Well, I'll make that motion that we vote to recommend retention of Judge Cortland Corsons.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those, did you raise your hand? No. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The chair votes aye. Judge Michael Kanan. I'll get it started on Michael Kanan. Again, I mentioned at his meeting with us that he had actually run against me for the Senate.
Oh, I do recall that.
And that we became friends. We left candidates forums afterwards, we went out for a drink. And that might just sound personal and chummy, but it also is that we actually debated kind of fiercely. And it's the idea of he's a man of reason, and his argument is based on his logic, and then as a politician, and then we were able to be friends. It is possible to disagree with someone and still like them and still respect them, and even perhaps respect their erroneous opinion. So I have a strong bias in favor of Judge Kanan, but I have seen him operate, not as a judge, but I saw him operate. He was a prosecutor in Windsor County also. And so I've seen him deal with the law, both how he wanted to make law. He actually did serve a term in the House. Courageously, I would say. He took a very, very dangerous, unpopular vote and lost his seat because of it. But he did what I think was the right thing. And he is jolly. There was some complaint about that. And I got the sense from his interview that he understood that while there's nothing wrong with being jolly, maybe people want a little austerity on the bench. So anyway, other comment? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just, and I use the baseball, well, maybe it's not just baseball, a sports analogy. He's the only one I think that had a shutout. So nobody
Right, 100%.
on either side.
Everyone loves him.
That's what it would indicate.
I don't think he had any poor ratings on the surveys.
There was a comment. There were comments
Oh, yeah.
that he
I
lacked
was just looking at
seriousness.
I don't know if that, was that Kanan? I'm not seeing those.
But in any case, my sense is I don't think it's a problem. I don't want to do him a disservice. Did I make that up?
The responses that I'm reading are universally positive without mention of
Yeah, I didn't see that either.
what you're referring to.
You know what? He may have brought that up in the interview, now that I think of it. He said something like that. There are people who think I'm too informal.
There were a couple comments about gender bias, unconscious gender bias, with a tilt toward male litigants. On the other hand, someone else felt that he was more lenient with female defendants. So again, I think all in all, it sort of balances out.
I'll make a motion to recommend
Okay.
Judge Kanan for retention.
Second.
There's a motion and seconded on the table. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say no. Chair says aye. Trying to think. Well, I really hope I didn't do him a disservice by saying.
You said he was jolly. He'll get over it.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad thing.
Worst things to be accused of.
Okay, Judge Mary Morrissey.
I'll speak to Judge Morrissey, just to say that I think, most of us do our jobs and some of us transcend our jobs. And my sense is that Judge Morrissey is sort of in that transcendent realm. The comments were so glowing. She just seemed to embody everything that's good about our system. She was incredibly positive and professional, and I just thought she was terrific.
Yeah,
I'm pretty much the same thing. I've seen her in the courtroom a lot, had contact with her. She always works with her staff as well as the defendants and prosecutors. Just an amazing person to watch work. Does a good job.
Yes, thank you, Senator. So this one did it for me, this comment. And I know I mentioned this when she was here. Judge Morrissey handles everything with grace and class. I cannot express how important it is to have at least one member of the judiciary addressing the pervasive issue of sexism in the legal profession. She ensures that parties and other attorneys keep their sexist behavior in check and will not ignore it when a female attorney experiences sexism in her courtroom. She's a force and a leader and honestly a hero of mine. It feels like an unwinnable fight against something that women have to deal with if they want to practice law. So I fully support her retention.
yes.
So I think it was Judge Morrissey who told us that when she took the bench that she had visited every bail situation that had arisen and all those criminal defendants that were being held for lack of bail or without bail during the pandemic when the courts became so backlogged. And I thought that was really an outstanding way to deal with it. I just thought that it showed that she really took this job very seriously in making sure that criminal defendants weren't held for too long. And she tried to prioritize them as she learned how long they've been there and what they've been charged with. So I thought that was a really good analysis.
Further discussion? Yes.
I'd like to make a motion we recommend for retention.
Is there a second? Second, Nathan seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Chair votes aye. I think these have been unanimous votes.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, Judge Justin Giron.
Can I just ask that we delay speaking about him until perhaps Senator Hardy? You said if there was any controversy. I don't want to say that I'm suggesting there's controversy, but I do understand that there was some concern expressed.
Okay,
And I think it's only fair that she's with us when we.
without prejudice, we'll just do that, yes. Judge, oh no, I got into trouble on how I pronounced her name.
Kirsten.
Not Kirsten,
Kirsten.
It's Danish.
Schoonover.
Kirsten.
Kirsten
Judge Kirsten Schoonover.
Schoonover.
Any comments? Nothing. Check your notes.
We did hear from a few folks who had some issues with Judge Glover.
Yeah.
But, you know, I remember one in particular over Zoom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the public hearing.
yeah. Other than that, again, it's mixed, right? I don't know if it was a trend, but we definitely did hear some concerns.
This committee is not here to relitigate.
Right, no.
I know that, I wasn't telling you that, I just mentioned
Yeah.
it. So the question is, do we have indications that what this witness saw or thinks she saw is an actual problem?
Was that reflected at all? I don't have my papers with me. Was that reflected in the comments at all?
Yeah, I would say there are a couple that could be considered related. Saying she literally told a witness in an RFA case before she heard any testimony that, quote, if you don't testify, I can't help you, end quote. Very dismissive of fathers in Chin's cases. Also saying sometimes in favor of pro se litigants. But out of the comments from attorneys, there's balance. And I would add, just regarding the person who spoke to us during the public hearing. One thing, I think we could easily vote to retain someone and still really want them to learn from this process. And something that this particular person said that stood out to me, and I wrote down the quote, "I wish she had set me up for success." And I think that really said a lot to me. Again, it's a feeling of one person who appeared before the judge. But we know that people who appear before judges are often in great need. Some who appear before judges are in great need, and it's not the judge's responsibility to fix everything. But I do think that in the best case scenario, they have an opportunity to help along that path. So I just want to lift up those words again. I wish she had set me up for success. Admittedly, I don't know much about that particular case.
We don't know exactly what she was talking about.
Right. But maybe an opportunity for reflection.
Yes.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll just say this. I mean, we're always, the old saying is don't judge a book by the cover. But to some degree, that's what we have to do here. As the chair mentioned before, most of us are not attorneys. Most of us are not encountering the judges in their workplace. We're not skipping out on our committee assignments to go sit in court and watch how they act. So a lot of the decision-making process involves when we have someone in this chair. And I would say that I thought that this judge really handled herself well. I appreciated her answers. I appreciated the manner that she engaged. And that certainly made me comfortable with the idea of her retention. And we know there's always going to be some negative comments, or almost always. And we certainly have to keep those in mind, but I don't want to overweigh them as well. And, based on what we had in our book and combined with the back and forth we had during the engagement process with this judge, I'm certainly comfortable with the retention.
Further discussion?
I would make a motion to recommend retention.
Second.
Okay. Regarding our recommendation on the retention of Kirsten Schoonover, all those in favor? All those in favor say yes.
Yeah.
Aye.
All those opposed? And the chair votes yes. And We'll go back to Judge Justin John.
Yeah, and I'll start if I may. And for Senator Hardy's benefit, I asked that we wait until you came
Okay,
in
great.
order to
Thank you.
to talk about him, because I don't know your feelings on the other 11, but it seemed like this one might have risen to a little bit more of a let's talk back and forth stage. So initially, I was in a position where I, quite frankly, didn't understand the bail procedure and the laws and the statutes surrounding that. So it was good because I got an education about what is applicable and what isn't. And I think most people in the general public don't share that view and don't have that knowledge that there's only a couple times when you can, when you should impose bail, and one of them is the risk of not showing up again at flight. So I learned a lot. And with respect to what I think the judiciary is going to do in terms of getting Judge Giron a mentor, I think that's an excellent idea. And I hate to always use sports analogies, but I'm just so used to it, I guess. He's a rookie, and rookies make mistakes, and I think he's going to learn from it. I think he's going to be a very good judge.
Yes.
So what I recall from Judge Giron is that he addressed every single negative comment and mark that he received in this survey. And he's the only judge in this group that did that, actually. Everyone with a thoughtful answer. And when he, again, I mentioned it to him, but when he talked about being on the bench and coming up with something that he's read in these reviews, that caused him to step back and reflect on what he might say or do in that situation. I thought that was exceptional, and that's what we would hope to have every judge on the bench do, is just to step back on occasion and reflect on what criticisms they may have received. He's taken a real beating in the press up in St. Johnsbury. I had someone come to me and say, "Well, you're not going to retain him, are you?" I said, "Well, he's only a rookie in your terms. He's only been on the bench a year. I think he really addressing those negative comments and the way he spoke with us. I think he should be tutored, and I think he will become a good judge."
Senator Hardy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thanks for waiting for me, and apologies for being late. It's crossover. We're trying to get bills out of my committee. So I feel similarly to what was just said about Judge Giron. He did have some, troubling comments or rankings or whatever in his file, but I thought he addressed the negative comments very appropriately and professionally and maturely. He is a rookie, and I think that's frankly an appropriate term. He's still learning, and it's kind of the bad luck of the draw that he got to have to go through retention in his first year. And when he filled out his retention file for us, he had been on the job for like 6-7 months, not even a year. And then the surveys came when he'd been like 8 or 9 months. So it was before, he's only just now been 13 months, I think, a judge. So I just want to ask Mr. Chair, can I ask Judge Zone? I just want to make sure that, so in the past when we've had concerns about judges, we've had to do some kind of letter that says they're going to get a mentor, they're, going to have these things. But it sounds like there's now in place a more prescriptive and a certain mentoring program that you have, I think, implemented, or maybe has been implemented in the last few years. So is it certain that he will have a mentor, or that he will have people who review his performance and have the training that he needs, or would it be helpful for us to put that in writing?
It is certain that is occurring, because what we were doing is we've implemented after the first year, each of the judges who come onto the bench after their first year Every judge has a mentor during their initial term and orientation and going forward. But this is going to be something different. This is going to be not just a mentor, but a review. And so, for instance, with Judge Gyron, Judge Teachout is the one who is going to be actually watching him in court and meeting with him. How long that goes on will really depend in large part on what Judge Teachout's views are. But I can also tell the committee is that in addition to that, it's not, okay, Judge Teachout met with him, we're all done. No, we're going to have continuing monitoring of all judges because it's important. Terry and I have been sitting here, and Bob for that matter, have been sitting here listening and hearing the comments. I can assure you that the comments are discussed with the judges. And more importantly, the judges have heard the comments, read the comments, and each are working to address them. So we will continue to work forward on any of the issues. And in particular with Judge Gyron, it would be something that if you said to me, hey, Judge Zone, is he still doing this? I will absolutely be able to tell you what the status is at any given time.
Okay, so Senator Colin Moore and I will stop you a year from now in the hall and talk to you about it. But thank you. No, with those assurances, I mean, I feel comfortable retaining him and I think I said to him directly that I, hope in 6 years he's back.
You did.
And is a confident, productive and great judge. So he has a lot to learn like we all do, but I think he'll be good. He'll be good.
Yes?
So I do want to acknowledge that one of the other things that he took into consideration were the two cases that were brought up both in these comments and in the press, in the Caledonia Record. And I took note that he used a tool, as you say, you learned a lot about bail, a tool that he has on the bench to finally hold on to these two defendants who kept violating their conditions and getting into trouble. And that was what they call a condition 4, meaning that they were to be released to a responsible adult. And it seems like he probably had a good idea that no one would step up for these two guys and take them into custody. So, he used that tool, and those two gentlemen are out of the community at this point in time. I thought that was a wise thing to do.
I'm happy to learn that there is follow-up on these, that the judges will hear. Not only the comments that they got, but our comments as well. Okay. Saves me from writing a letter. Is there, Senator?
No, I was going to move to recommend to retain Judge Gyron.
There's a motion to recommend retention. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Chair votes aye. Okay, now we have to assign who's gonna do who. Who's gonna do whom.
Can we choose or is there a system?
I don't know. I think often it's by, I think we've done it before, is volunteer.
Yeah.
Some people have favorites.
I don't have a hat.
I'd like to do Keenan though.
I'll just say I'm agnostic. I'll take whichever two reports are left.
Okay, let's, and I'm gonna use this little type, so it's gonna take a second.
I'll write them all down.
Oh, okay.
I'll take Justice Reiber.
Barbara?
Yes.
Corsones?
You still getting this, Peggy?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Don't worry about it, I'll write it.
I'm keeping notes of who's taking. Who else wants to ask for somebody?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Mary Morrissey?
Who said that?
Oh, Gulick.
Senator Hardy, did you have your hand up?
Well, I will take Justice Waples, and I'll do Judge Gyron as well.
Yes.
I'd be happy to speak for Judge Arms. Oh, wait, you know her, you go for it, go for it, Tom.
Sure.
Yes.
You want to do arms?
I'll do arms, yeah. I know her.
You know her.
I would do Eaton as well. Okay, too.
I would speak for Judge Carlson.
Okay.
I mean, that's probably the wrong phrase, but.
So the math works out to about
Take, that sounds
1.6.
Oh, I want to give
Well, the
4%
chair
my
has to
back.
do some kind of opening
Right,
remarks.
so he
Yeah.
doesn't do a report.
Oh, you don't do a report.
No, you could do one.
I can do one, yeah, I was planning on
Oh, you
doing
want,
Canaan.
okay.
I
Yeah,
want to do
you're-
an opening remark.
Because you took
you
Michael
wanted to
Caine.
do
Yes.
Canaan, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, right, all right.
Does everybody pick
So how many are left?
Okay.
There are Carol,
1, 2,
Cohen,
3,
and Schoonover.
I could take Judge Carroll. This is Gulick speaking.
Okay,
I'll take Justice Cohen.
Are we down to 2?
Yep.
I'll take them.
Wait, no.
Well,
we're
no,
down to
Waples,
one.
no, just one.
Um,
Judge Schoonover, I think.
And Justice Carol, did we assign
Carol.
her?
yeah, someone,
Oh,
Wait, who,
I said I'd take whoever was left.
okay. So who's doing Cohen?
Brian.
Okay.
Peggy, do you have all that?
If you want to take one of mine, you can.
Doesn't matter to me. I said I'd take 2.
Okay, then,
Corson,
No, of course not.
Jaron
Someone
or
took
I
Corson.
did.
do you want to?
Doesn't matter.
We trading now?
Well, if I can only do one, that would be helpful. I mean, so who's willing to do one?
Yeah, I came in thinking I was gonna do 2, so I'm happy
We
to.
don't have anyone for Schoonover, I don't think.
Yeah.
Oh, Will.
So that'd be me.
You're gonna take, okay, great.
And
Okay.
then I might steal one from Senator Hardy.
Justice Carroll, is that what you said?
Do you feel comfortable doing Justice Gyron or Judge Gyron?
Certainly.
Okay, so then I'll,
Okay, so you're gonna do.
I get an easy one.
Who has Corson's?
I do, sorry.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah, that's everyone.
So Peggy, you want,
Want to read it back?
yeah, let's have Peggy, would you read what you
So
have?
Senator McCormick, Judge Keenan, Representative Troiano has Liebert and Eaton. Senator Cullimore has Corson's. Representative Gulick has, was it Senator Gulick?
Senator.
Senator Gulick, sorry, has Morrissey. Senator Hardy has Waples. Representative Oliver has Arms. Representative Arsenal, Carlson. Senator Gulick has Carroll. Senator Cullimore has Cohen. And Representative Knott has Schoonover.
And John.
And Gyron.
And Jarwin, yeah.
All the justices and judges are taken and everyone on the committee has at least one.
Yep.
Okay,
So someone's gonna tell me what that looks like, right?
I was just gonna ask that same question, because you've been on it before.
I'm happy to
Okay.
send you my reports
Somebody else.
that I've done in the past, or you can get them, yeah. I mean, if you would like, I can send them to the committee.
That would be
as
great.
examples.
So there's some biographical information
Yeah, I
and then,
I
Yeah.
usually start with some sort of a background, you know, where they went to school, where they're from, and onto that, and then some of the,
are we limited time-wise?
theoretically.
yeah.
We're not technically, but I just wouldn't make them too long.
Minute?
yeah.
2 minutes.
Oh, no,
2 minutes,
yeah.
2,
Yeah.
3 minutes, I think.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
I mean, sometimes the ones that are longer are the ones that we have to make the case
Right.
for or talk about
Right.
some kind of, and none of these are, I mean, the one might be Gyron, you might want to,
Yeah.
But all of them were unanimous, so,
yeah.
well, I say that.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
that
I would have
comes-
voted for all of them
Right.
had I been here.
I still get a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we held the voting open.
Oh, is that
Yes.
kosher?
Add you.
You can add me to all of them.
So
Yeah, I
yes for
was,
everybody?
yeah.
Okay, so.
Everybody else
All
voted
eight
yes for
zeros.
everybody, right?
All
Yeah.
votes
Yeah.
are 8-0.
Okay.
And the joint assembly is when?
March 28th.
I just, before everybody packs up,
So,
28.
week.
can I bring up one thing?
I would too. I'd like to bring up something too.
Thank you.
And,
Shall we
yeah,
go offline yet?
well,
Yes.
so you can have one.
Oh, no.